We are back with you live once again for another Johnnie Torch live broadcast here in stately Torch Tower, far above the sprawling metropolis below. We bring you JTLIVE number 156, also Torch News Roundup number 137. I know I made a mistake. I think it was last week I called it the wrong number, but sometimes I get them confused, but I always straighten it out after the fact. It's okay to be wrong as long as you correct yourself the following week. All right, so we've got a really big show for you today, and we're going to start off here, though, first with the poll of the week question from last week. We have which of Jack King Kirby's magnum opuses, and that is the correct verbiage, by the way, are you most looking forward to seeing on the big screen? The question was either the Eternals or the New Gods. MCU was putting out the Eternals, and the DCU was putting out New Gods basically within a year of each other, I believe. And as it turns out, it was a 50-50 poll for the longest time, but with 48 votes, the Eternals finally pulled ahead with 52% of the vote. New Gods falling behind with 48% of the vote. So thank you everyone for voting in last week's poll of the week question. There is no new poll as of yet, but check the link in the description below for my Twitter page, and you can keep up to date with all the poll of the week questions that we put up. Also, check out the link in the description below for the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. You can still check out the Indiegogo on that, our most recent storyline, When the Night Comes. We are working on getting that together as a graphic novel in the next few weeks. The campaign's almost over. I've been debating whether I should extend it or not because I said I'd extend it if we were doing well. But you still have a chance to, within the next 2 days at least, to back the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. When the Night Comes, the climactic battle when Carrot Top and Pencil Neck team up along with Pickle Puss and Sour Note to take on Bullets Bourbon with the fate of the free world as the prize. So make sure you check that out. I've been meaning to update my website. I haven't really done enough to update the website with a couple of new pages to show some new artwork from the story, from the third chapter of the story. And I've been going over it now for the remastering process. And you wouldn't believe how much I have to fix. I actually thought that the last issue came without very many mistakes, but there's still mistakes. I incorrectly titled it Act 2 when it is clearly Act 3 of the 3-issue story arc. So things like that I'm catching, and we're putting it out in graphic novel form. Hopefully, God willing, knock wood, even though that's not wood, any glaring issues will be addressed. I've gone over with a fine-tooth comb, as they say, the proverbial fine-tooth comb, to get any spelling errors and just to generally clean it up, make it look a lot better, color correcting a few things that needed to be for the sake of continuity, all that jazz. And it's going to look great. It's going to be worth every penny you spend on it. So check it out in the link in the description below. You can back it on Indiegogo, or at the very least, you can wait a couple of weeks and it should be out for public consumption. I don't know. I don't know exactly how long it's going to take. Also, before we get to the topics at hand here, a couple of things. I don't have the chat room open today because I'm going to be seeing Dark Phoenix 9 o'clock tonight, Eastern Standard Time. And, I've learned, even though Dark Phoenix doesn't seem to be a runaway hit by any means, I've learned to not trust that people are going to keep their yap shut. No matter how much you ask them and advise them not to, secrets or whatever will still come out. And I know virtually nothing about this film, secret-wise. I think I can probably guess between safe bets along with knowing the story of the Dark Phoenix, or at least knowing Kinberg's version of the Dark Phoenix from The Last Stand. I can kind of guess how this is going to go, but it's still not going to take any chances. All right, so if you do have a comment, you can leave it in the chat, and I'll look over the chat after the video, after I've seen Dark Phoenix, and see if there's any questions that I can address in a subsequent broadcast. The surest bet, of course, is to leave a comment in the chat, in the comments below. I always answer all my comments, no matter how mundane or, I don't know. I haven't really gotten outrageous quotes, but I guess I'll address them too. So, yeah, I think that about wraps up everything. I also want to, I guess, early on here, also want to put you wise to. I don't know exactly when I'm going to be able to get the Dark Phoenix review video out. I would tentatively say Monday, but of course, as some of you may have known, I think I have mentioned this before, but I'm going to be an uncle for the first time very soon, and my sister is expecting a delivery sometime within the next few days. So, um, things could happen, and it might delay my broadcasting. But I will try to get that out as soon as possible, because I'd rather talk about these things when they're fresh in my mind. So, tentatively tomorrow or Monday, but I will try to get that out as soon as possible. Also, make sure you hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I got a couple of new subscribers. Very, very, very appreciative. And hit that like button, because we have a lot of views. In comparison with recent weeks, we've had sort of an upswing on views. But hit that like button. Make sure that YouTube knows that Johnny Torch Live is reasonably popular, and maybe I'll get a few more swings in my direction from the algorithm. All right, so with all that out of the way, I'm not sure exactly how long that took, but we try to take care of all um, spring cleaning, or whatever you want to call it, early on there. Let's start off with our first subject, and let's make that first subject be something we've been just talking about: Dark Phoenix. All right, now Dark Phoenix is not expected to burn up the box office by any means, but let's see what the earliest prognosticating is. Dark Phoenix is expected to rake in about 50 million over the course of its opening weekend. It's made a disappointing $5 million haul from Thursday night's preview screenings in the U.S. Now, let me just stop for a second here. The Thursday night screenings, I know, at least in my neck of the woods, I actually tried to get a Thursday night screening, and they had one screening at 6 p.m., which is a bad time, and B, very limited. So while I'm not trying to, put a happy face on what is potentially a box office flop, if that is sort of the case with most theaters, that they were showing a one, that's kind of what the used to be the midnight showings, but then they started making them a midnight, a 9 o'clock, and a 7 o'clock showing, and so on and so forth. I think Dark Phoenix had a 6 o'clock showing, and then I think a 10 o'clock IMAX showing, or a 3D showing, something like that. So I wasn't able to go to that, and then busy yesterday, so that's hence tonight being the day I'm going. But that could be a reason why there is a smaller take from the Thursday night preview. Of course, it's getting beaten up. I didn't watch any reviews because I didn't want to, like I said, I don't want to be spoiled for it. I like to go in with my own opinion anyway, especially in something that's already been like a foregone conclusion that it's going to be bad. I like to make up my own mind on those things, and a lot of the times, I go against the grain, and people will accuse me of liking bad movies, I guess. But mm, I like to have my own opinion on things and go in fresh. Let's see. This isn't too bad, especially taking the wretched reviews into account, but it is significantly lower than its predecessor's preview takings. Apocalypse made 8.2 million in 2016, and 2014's Days of Future Past took in 8.1 million. So yeah, that's kind of on the downswing. Um, I don't know. I mean, there is such a thing as the MCU shills and fanboys. You know what I mean? That is kind of a thing. I think a lot of people don't want to see this film be successful because they want to see X-Men in the MCU. Me, I'm having the opposite reaction. I mean, I honestly would love to keep X-Men at Fox for I was watching the well, for lack of a better term, the rebooted X-Men franchise. I started with First Class, went through Days of Future Past, and then uh Apocalypse over the past couple of nights. And with the exception of Apocalypse, very, very strong films. I mean, I don't really see what the problem is. I mean, a lot of people bash Apocalypse. I don't think it was a total disaster. It just felt like two things. Like, one thing, it was, you can tell they were trying to ape the success of Days of Future Past. There was like similar beats there where it's like, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, and I think to an extent they did the same thing with earlier, like First Class too. I mean, they had Magneto go through another traumatic losing everything moment where, I mean, it felt like we were rehashing old ground. And a lot of the movie felt like that to me, like rehashing old ground. And I think that could be the problem with Dark Phoenix, that people will think of The Last Stand. And the second problem was uh, it was sort of, and I think I've heard in my limited hearing of reviews for Dark Phoenix, it was pretty scattershot in the way it was set up. There was stuff that seemed like it was going on all over the place at the same time that was, slightly confusing. I mean, not very confusing, but it's like, all right, we got Mystique and Nightcrawler in Germany or something. Then we're taking a look at Havoc and Professor X talking to Myra McTaggart. We've got the young X-Men, doing their own thing. We've got Storm and Apocalypse meeting. It felt like there was like probably about six different avenues going on at the same time, which again doesn't necessarily make it bad, but I think it kind of makes it look a little sloppy when there seem to be so many irons in the fire and there wasn't a good strong through line for all of them. It was sort of like, you know, jumping from one to another. But again, as I say, I am going to go in with an open mind. And if you have seen Dark Phoenix already, let me know in the comments below. As I said, I will check that out uh, on the next broadcast after I see the movie. And if you're not going to see Dark Phoenix, let me know why. Is there a reason why you think it's going to be so bad? Unless, of course, you've been totally spoiled. Maybe you'll have some reasons that are obvious. But as of now, not hearing anything about the movie, I am very excited. I'm looking forward to it. As I've said, I am not a fan of what they did to Spider-Man in the MCU. I don't like that Spider-Man at all. Tom Holland notwithstanding. I like Tom Holland as an actor, and I think he does a fantastic job. I don't like what they did to his universe. No Uncle Ben. No Uncle Ben references, really. I think there's like one minor reference in Homecoming, but this is like the people that say, "Oh, we don't want to see Batman's parents get killed again. We don't want to see Uncle Ben get killed again." But you have to understand, when you're building a world, when you're starting a new franchise, you have to get people started from the ground up. I've said this all the time. Stan the Man Lee, Stan Lee's famous words were, everybody has that first comic book, and that first comic book could be anybody's. So, you know, you know, this might be the first time a kid sees Spider-Man. He doesn't know anything about Uncle Ben. And rather than, recommend him to the Sam Raimi films, which I would do over these films in a heartbeat, but rather than recommend them to past films, you really should be, broadening the spectrum there so that you can see exactly the entire overview of, Peter Parker's life. So it's the same thing with the Batman movies. You can basically wrap up his origin in a credit sequence, really. You can wrap it up in a 2-minute flashback. But I think it's important that you do that. But then again, there's also many other things. The Spider-Man cast being unrecognizable, despite Spider-Man having pound for pound the best cast, the best supporting cast in comics. I don't know how you get that wrong. Hot Aunt May, that all a lot of things speak for itself. Iron Man being sort of the surrogate Uncle Ben. What are they going to do with X-Men? How are they going to change that? As a matter of fact, ironically, I've got so much like supplemental material on all these DVDs and Blu-rays, and I like to watch supplemental material, and I haven't been able to lately because there's just so much stuff on television these days. Which, by the way, I that's another video I've got to do. I've got to list and rank the TV shows of this season and the way I like them between Arrow, Flash, and so on and so forth. Haven't gotten to that yet either, but all in good time. But I was watching the First Class behind the scenes, for lack of a better term, and the producer or someone was saying that the original concept of First Class was going to be sort of X-Men in the John Hughes universe, where Professor X would have been a teeny bopper and Magneto would have been, and they would have met at the age of 17, sort of the way they were described to in the original X-Men movie. But how bad would that have been compared to what we got in First Class, which was, pardon the pun, a First Class movie? I don't even like First Class as much as a lot of people do. A lot of people will make First Class into their top 3. Not so much for me, but it's still a great movie. I love the Charles and Eric storyline. That through the whole thing is great. The rest of it kind of you know, it's like the bargain level X-Men. You know what I mean? They didn't start off with Cyclops and stuff because it was set in the 60s. But still a great movie. I well, make no bones about it. But again, as I said, what they do now with the X-Men, it'll be woke X-Men, it'll be gay Iceman, it'll be black Jean Grey, because Hollywood hate them gingers. That we can't have an accurate looking redheaded character in comic book film or television. And again, so with this cast looks like it stepped straight from the pages, and especially watching Days of Future Past, the talent involved. James McAvoy, I still say, should have won a Best Actor award for that film. Um, James McAvoy is fantastic in everything he does, but he really did a great job there. And the same can be said for many of the other actors. Fassbender's fantastic. The young cast is very good. I like Sophie Turner in the previous film in Apocalypse. So, I'm at a loss to say that I'm excited for an MCU X-Men. I would prefer really that they just keep on with McAvoy, Fassbender. Just put some better talent behind, the scripts maybe, if they seem to be taking a downturn in quality. But yeah, some really talented folks that are going to be shown the door, unfortunately. And all things change, but it seemed that particularly if this film was successful, they were going to continue on with this cast because um, at least most of the members of the cast, because they seem to be leading up to, the continuing adventures of this younger X-Men cast. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Let us move on now before I wax eloquent any further. All right, there's some news that came out here about the Black Adam movie. Black Adam. Let's see. We have apparently a director. Let's see. Observer is reporting that Warner Brothers and New Line are in advanced negotiation with, now here, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Wam Colette Sierra. I think that's how you pronounce it. To direct the upcoming Black Adam, which will star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Variety has since corroborated the initial report and have added that the film is currently a priority for both studios following the success of Sandberg's Shazam, which starred Zachary Levi. They're also bringing The Rock into the world of superhero movies, as they assume his involvement will be a huge box office draw. Of course it will be. Are you kidding me? According to the report, Black Adam was originally supposed to debut in Shazam, but the producers decided against it prior to filming and opted instead to introduce the two characters in separate solo films before bringing them together. Colette Serra is best known for helming a number of Liam Neeson actioneers, including Nonstop, Run All Night, and The Commuter. He also directed Blake Lively in The Shallows and recently completed Disney's Jungle Cruise with Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt. So, again, I don't know a whole lot about this. To be honest, I'm dubious about this. Not about the director. I don't really know him, so I mean, I imagine he's a good a choice as any. But I'm dubious as to putting Black Adam in a solo film. I still don't really know that that's really the smartest thing to do. I don't think that villains hold their own movies very well. Now, people probably look towards Venom, and that worked. That worked kind of on two levels. On the one hand, Venom is kind of a strong enough villain to support a movie, particularly that he's an anti-hero. He's not a strict villain. Now, I guess the same could be said of Black Adam. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with the character. Also, Tom Hardy was, you know, very charismatic enough to carry that role. I believe Dwayne Johnson could be just as charismatic to carry the role, but I don't know what you do for a story. I mean, is this going to take place? Is this going to be like Scorpion King, and they're basically just going to have, Dwayne running around the sand with the toga, sort of doing the old Hercules movies of the 60s or something, and then we just sort of meet up again in the present day? I don't know. I really don't know how this will happen, and if it makes sense to make it happen this way, but yeah, I'm gonna see it. I'm definitely gonna see it. So, and we waited a long time. The Rock himself has waited a long time for this role. I mean, I think everybody wants to see what he's gonna do with it, because again, this is perfect casting. They, couldn't really cast any better than The Rock for Black Adam. All right, so let us move on. Let's see. Alrighty. We've got some Black Widow images again. I try to keep up to date with these images whenever I see them, whenever I spot them on Twitter, usually. This is taking place in some kind of forest, allegedly from the. So you can get a little close up there. Allegedly from the Black Widow movie. She's got the same hairdo, so apparently it is. She's listening to some kind of Walkman. I don't know exactly if that betrays what the time period is, but that's very interesting. Self-help, maybe? I don't know. She's trying to deprogram herself from the Red Room, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. She's got, like, some kind of soda cup here with a straw. So obviously this is before the California ban. But yeah, this is basically all we have. Scarlett Johansson running through the woods. Well, maybe not running, but leisurely pacing through the woods. I don't know what is that drink. That always fascinates me when I'm seeing a movie and somebody's got a sandwich or a drink. I got to ask what it is. It looks like it could be iced tea. I don't know. Maybe it's iced tea. But there you have it. There's your Black Widow update of the week. Not a whole lot to speculate on. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I will pass on whatever. I got one more. Whatever images I can find. And of course, Scarlett Johansson is a treat at all angles. But as we carry on here, let us talk about the Harley Quinn movie, which is also to star the lovely Margot Robbie. Now, let me see. It's been confirmed now that the fantabulous emancipation of Harley Quinn will indeed be rated R. Let's see. During a recent Vogue interview, The actress took them on a tour of the set and confirmed that the female-led superhero movie will indeed be rated R. Asked why she wants to take the franchise in that direction, she said, "I think there's a perception that a PG female-led action film is kind of considered a chick flick." Why would you say that? I have no idea what that means. I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people want to they want to equate the female action hero with Sarah Connor or Ripley, which is, traditionally the R-rated action heroines. I don't really understand that because you could see just as many, tough female characters in things like Black Widow. Um, I can't think of any that were considered a chick flick. I don't understand where she's getting this from. Um, I don't know. Regardless, with a budget of 75 million, according to Robbie, Warner Brothers can certainly afford to take a risk with the rating. Let's see. The addition of a primarily female cast and crew means that the lead character won't be dressed in the sort of skimpy outfits we saw Harley Quinn don in Ayer's Suicide Squad. Erin Benench, uh, the movie's costume designer. I did not purposely. Never mind. That's what happens when you have a female producer, director, and writer. Erin Benench noted, and Robbie adds, "Yeah, it's definitely less male gazy." Okay, well, Margot, keep up that non-male gazy stuff you're doing. I'm sure it's going to be very successful because I think this picture is from that Vogue photo shoot or something. I don't know, but see, I don't know. I'm really, it's too hot for me to go off on a tangent again today about stuff like this, but it really is ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. I mean, you're going to worry about the male gaze and you're going to make it an R-rated movie where traditionally the R-rated movies used to be there particularly just to show the male gaze, and that's what I'm against. I've always been against nudity and so forth, particularly in superhero movies and comic book movies. You should allow kids to be able to see these films. I've gone on that tangent many a time, but this is not going to be for nudity anyway. This is going to be, as we all know, that they never do female nudity in superhero movies. It's always some guy's butt. And I'm sure that's exactly what we're going to get here. Some guy's butt. Who's in this film? Mr. Zaz. Yeah, we'll see his butt with like his his tally on his derriere. That's probably exactly what we're going to see that's going to make this rated R. But of course, let's get rid of that male gaze, by gosh. We don't want to see Harley Quinn in short shorts because, heaven knows that will send the wrong message. But having it, rated R where there'll be, male partial nudity, there'll be some, probably some F bombs, some, probably some coarse jokes. That's the ticket. That's the way to go. And then, of course, you alienate a good segment of the audience, which would have seen it because, particularly Harley Quinn, the kids, I think, are fans of Harley Quinn. I don't know what this move is to try to make her the next Deadpool. I really never saw Harley as a Deadpool character because Harley, and I've said this before, Harley at heart is really like a 9-year-old. I truly believe that's what it is. So she's like a 9-year-old girl with a crush on the Joker. And, she likes the, balloons and unicorns and ice cream cones. I mean, that's kind of what Harley Quinn is and should be. And I don't really know how you change that to make her R-rated unless you're going to make her, some kind of Randy Vixen or something, which again would be against, at least against my conception of the character. I mean, I know they've tried to, in the even in the animated film, they had her like fooling around with Deadshot, which I thought was completely out of character. But that comes with this whole package of rebranding her as this woke feminist doesn't need Mr. J or whatever. Yeah, I'm not thinking this film is going to do very well if this is indeed the case, and it is indeed the case. I think it's been confirmed on many accounts at this point, and I still love what Margot did with Harley. Let's hope that maybe some incarnation of this will be available for kids, and that they might be able to enjoy it. That's all I can say. All right, let's take a look at this here. This is, I guess, this is sort of the big news of the day. A lot of people are going wild over the new Wonder Woman poster. This is for Wonder Woman 84 or Wonder Woman 1984, I guess, depending on what you hear the source. I'm not sure exactly which one it's going to be called. I think it's 84. June 5th, 2020. So we've got one whole year to marvel and wonder at the awe of this film. Um, Not a big fan of this costume. As is the case with all, you know, things that come out, footage, images, posters, whatever, the internet goes nuts and everybody loves it and it's crazy, cool, and fabuloso. To me, it looks like the SJW's got their way. We've got Wonder Woman covered from neck to toe, just like every other generic superheroine in the Fleshugana business. Why did we have to do this for? I guess for story purposes, it's probably going to be Cheetah's claws are gonna do a number on Wonder Woman. But see, again, this is the thing. There was a lot of criticism during the original Wonder Woman film that she was, too scantily clad or something for a warrior princess, whatever. She should be covered up more so that she doesn't take the injuries of the battle and so on and so forth. But to me, the whole issue always was Wonder Woman is that good. That's why I don't like seeing her with a sword and spear and this and that as well. She's supposed to be an emissary of peace, so that's another reason why you don't use the sword and the spear. But she's really that good, where a lasso is all that she needs, really, as a weapon. And the bracelets are supposed to be her method of defense. She's not supposed to be expecting to take, whatever, a spear to the chest or, shoulder tackling somebody or something like that. She has the bracelets to deflect and bounce back bullets and so forth. She doesn't need a full suit of armor. But again, here we go. Lady Sif, Gamora, Black Widow, although I suppose Black Widow, that's her traditional costume regardless. But we've got the generic armored up suit for Wonder Woman now. She doesn't even have the tiara, which I was very disappointed with. I mean, maybe that'll be different in the movie, but she really looks completely unrecognizable. Now, I mean, if you didn't know Gal Gadot was uh, cast as Wonder Woman, and you just seen this as the poster for your Wonder Woman movie, would you know that's Wonder Woman? I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't. You can barely make out she has a lasso, but I mean, if you said to me there was a new superhero movie coming out with a female star, and who do you think it is, and you show me this picture, I wouldn't know. I honestly wouldn't. So this looks nothing like Wonder Woman. I think there is some speculation that this goes back to the 80s, a suit that she wore as some kind of battle suit. And of course, I know she's not going to wear this through the whole movie. We already have footage of her in the traditional Wonder Woman costume. But again, I do feel like this is kind of in a way placating the complainers. And you don't listen to the complainers. You don't placate them. You don't acquiesce to their demands and say, okay, we're going to put her in a full armored suit, and now she looks like every other female action hero. What you do is you stick to your guns and you just continue to make the character look like the character's always looked. So, yeah, this is very disappointing to me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, we have news that apparently there's not going to be a trailer anytime soon. Let's see. Patty Jenkins said, by now you've heard WB isn't going to Hall H this year. We're so sad to miss you there, and waiting until December to start our official WW84 campaign in full. But the truth is, we can just barely wait. So I guess that pretty much means that they're not going to do a trailer come this June, as it would be a year before the film comes out. You would think that a teaser might be, you know, might be palpable at this point, something that just get it on people's minds. But we've got this. We've got the poster. I guess that's supposed to be enough. It seems like that San Diego Comic-Con is losing a lot of their, big, uh, reveals, the trailers. It was like a big thing to get your stuff dropped at San Diego Comic-Con, but it looks like it's becoming less and less relevant as the years go by, and I'm not sure why that is exactly. All right, but be sure to let me know what you think about this costume. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is a costume that's going to stick around, or is this just sort of the boss fight costume change that we can all expect and then have it move away and go away again? I'm afraid that it's going to stick around, but I don't know. I mean, that would be sort of a that would sort of be a very off-brand look. I mean, I don't think you can sell Wonder Woman on this. I don't really think it's a good poster. You can't sell Wonder Woman on this when you don't know that it's her, especially when you don't have. I don't believe the term, the phrase Wonder Woman is even on this poster. I mean, they got the hashtag. That's about it. So yeah, I think it's a fail. I'm gonna give you an L. I'm giving you an L, Patty Jenkins, on this one. I mean, I love the first movie, and Gal Gadot's fantastic in it. But let's just stay on point. Let's stay on point here. All right, let's move on. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We've got some news also on the front of Bill and Ted 3. Bill and Ted Face the Music, I believe it's going to be called. We get some casting news here. Let's see. Bill and Ted Face the Music will be with us August 21st, 2020. Wow, that's not too long away. I mean, it's like a year and a couple months. It's not really it's probably not going to have a huge budget for effects and stuff, but I mean, you would think that with time travel and all that stuff, they could, it was going to take a little more than that. I'm not sure if what that portends for the film if they're going to do it in a year. Let's see. Joining returning stars Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter will be Bridget Lundy Payne and Samara Weaving, who will play Billy Logan, daughter of Ted, and Thea Preston, daughter of Bill. So Billy Logan Esquire, possibly. I imagine that's her on the left because she's the one that resembles Keanu more, and Thea Preston would be Weaving on the right because she probably looks more like Alex Winter. All right, let's see. Lundy Payne's credits include Atypical and The Glass Castle. Probably these are like indie films that I never heard of. Weaving is best known for her role in Netflix's The Babysitter and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. They'll be joined by William Sadler, who will return as Bogus Journey's Grim Reaper. That's interesting. I didn't hear that. Wow, that's pretty cool. I think, as I said before, I wasn't a big fan of Bogus Journey. I really don't like that film. But the one high point was the Grim Reaper. He was pretty funny. He was cool. You have sunk my battleship. Yeah, he was always cool. But that the narrative of that one was just like weird. It was all over the place, and I probably should give it another watch because I haven't watched it in like 10 years. But last time I watched it, I still felt like, nah, I don't know. I think a lot of fans are split on Bogus Journey. It's like some people are like, yeah, a lot of people are like this, where it's like, don't remake the last movie, just make it as weird and like out there as possible and differentiate yourself. And there's other people that are like, well, it seems so far removed from what I was expecting. It's like not cool. You know what I mean? And I kind of come down a little more on the latter. It was like not really what I was expecting, and I kind of didn't like it. Um, but yeah, it's not without its moments. It's not without its own particular charms. And yeah, so this is interesting here. This continuing update with Bill and Ted 3. I will continue to pass on any information on the Bill and Ted franchise. I really liked the comics when I was a kid. That's kind of what got me into Bill and Ted, honestly. The Bill and Ted comics. They came out like right after Bogus Journey, And I honestly haven't looked at them in like, I don't know, 20 years or something, but they were really cool. I used to really enjoy them and look forward to each issue. And I was like, wow, it's like I'm enjoying this more than I enjoyed Bogus Journey. I don't know. All right, we'll stick with the 80s. We'll stick with the 80s franchises here that are finally getting a long-awaited reboot after 89 ended. Although I think Bill and Ted Bogus Journey was 90, right? Something like that. All right, so, but 80s mainstays, that's what we're talking here. Ghostbusters, let's see. Ghostbusters 3, I don't know if it's actually going to be called that, but that's what I'm going to call it. Ghostbusters 3, let's see. During an interview with Parade magazine, Sigourney Weaver was asked about reuniting with Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd for the new film and replied, "It's going to be crazy working with the guys again." So, a lot of people are saying, is that confirmation? Do we know for sure now that we have all the original surviving cast members in on this film? It's really exciting if it's the case. Of course, Sigourney playing Dana Barrett in the previous two films, and I know, does this lead to Oscar making an appearance in the film? You know, maybe not the same actors, but will they cast Oscar? That'd be interesting. And again, not too sure exactly about the situation. Rick Moranis is, like, for all intents and purposes, retired. I probably don't see him coming back. Annie Potts, right? Isn't that Janine? That's her name. Yeah, she could still be coming back. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. Okay, according to Geeks Worldwide, production. This is garbage tier. Production got. They mean production on. Jason Reitman's Ghostbusters sequel starts on July 14th in Calgary, Canada. So, July 14th is when shooting starts. As of now, the film stars Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, and McKenna Grace. Expect more casting to be revealed in the coming weeks, in addition to confirmation whether or not the original cast will be returning for the sequel. The movie is currently aiming for a July 10th, 2020 theatrical release. So, yeah, they got like about a year or two. This is interesting. I guess you can get movies done with decent effects in a year nowadays. I'm still going to be very surprised if they get Bill Murray back. He has been, you know, outrageously against the Ghostbusters 3. Could be for the better. I mean, we've seen many times how they try to bring back these franchises or franchise. How do you say that plurally? And it never works. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it depends on the people behind the camera. The Last Jedi. Yeah, but what can I say? I'm really hoping this is going to work. As I've said before, I'm not sure how this works. You would think that if they had maybe an older cast to pass the proton packs to, but it looks like it's going to be 12-year-olds wielding proton packs with the 70-year-old Ghostbusters giving them instruction. It's kind of strange. I don't know. Um, it says here in the uh, article, Ernie Hudson is not confirmed yet either. But I mean, a lot of these times these guys got to be mum on the subject. They can't just come out and say, "Oh yeah, I'm in talks" or this and that. It's when the PR department wants them to say that they're in it. But apparently we've got Sigourney Weaver saying that they're on board. So hopefully that's a step in the right direction. Okay, so let me know what you think in the comments below about Ghostbusters 3, the long-awaited Ghostbusters 3. All right, and I said I was going to talk about this. I don't have any formal notes or anything about this, but yeah, there's the Kristian Haroff meltdown that happened over the past week. And I don't really like doing this. I don't like calling out people, but this kind of made me really cringe. This really made me roll my eyes because when these guys who are like paid shills, and again, I'm not saying this to be totally mean to Harloff because, I subscribe to the schmoes, I'm pretty sure. I see the schmoes and the Collider stuff on my feed on YouTube showing up. So I'm pretty sure I subscribed to them at some point early on because I used to like to watch the Schmo Down or whatever it was when they used to just I've gotten away from that. Same thing with John Campea. I've watched them. I think I subscribed at some point, and I see the videos once in a while on my feed. I'll click on one once in a while. I kind of moved away from them in recent times because it feels very strongly like, they're shills. It feels very much like they're just in it to say the positive thing, to put the positive spin on things, so they can get the perks of, being uh, popular with Disney. And so, in case you haven't seen it, I'm not going to put the video up or anything, but because there's a lot of curse words coming out of der der Christian's mouth. But basically, he says that he's busted his butt as a Star Wars fan for the last X amount of years. I can't remember how many years he said, and that they did not, acquiesce to giving him a invite to the Galaxy's Edge opening so that he could cover it because he is allegedly a journalist of some kind. And to me, that really smacks of entitlement. And I think he even knows it too, but he was just so ticked off about it that he was frank about it. He was even saying that in the long tirade that he did about, he's thought of as a shill. But it's true. A lot of these guys that are doing these shows, you can tell very much that their opinion is colored by their relationship to the studio. And that's why I couldn't do that. I couldn't, you know, be a shill. I couldn't be saying, yeah, for the perk, I won't give a bad review to Last Jedi. It was all right. I mean, again, I haven't watched Harloff in a long time, so I'm not sure exactly what his feelings are on the most recent Star Wars films. But from what I understand, he basically will just go along to get along. He's not going to complain about these things, such as the Last Jedi and the crippling effect that that movie had, particularly on Solo. Which again, that's more news that I guess we could touch on. But the whole movement for make a Solo 2. As I said, I don't hate Solo. I watched it again like about a week ago before May was over and when all that was going on, that hubbub about Star Wars. And it's not a great movie, but it's not a bad movie. It just was. It took the abuse that Last Jedi deserved, and basically Solo was a sacrificial offering that Disney wanted to offer up because they wanted people's, you know, I'm reluctant to say fury, but fury to be spent by the time Rise of Skywalker comes out. So anyway, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for Harloff because it's one of those things where Star Wars doesn't owe Harloff anything. He sounds so entitled. Oh, I've been a Star Wars. I busted my butt as a Star Wars fan. Boy, you know how hard that is? I sat there and I watched A New Hope. I sat there and I watched Empire Strikes Back. And then, I twisted my own arm and I watched Return of the Jedi. And they didn't give me Galaxy's Edge tickets. What kind of people do that? I just sound so it just sounds so terribly, terribly entitled. So, I guess I can get to an extent what his gripe is. And then later on, the producer of the show, I don't know his name, but the producer is like telling him, "You've got to cover this. You've got to cover this because this." And he's like, "I refuse. I refuse. I'm not covering this." And he's like, "Well, yes, you are because that's your job." And in that case, I mean, I would probably side with Harloff. I mean, I don't know if he wants to walk away from a story. I mean, in a way, it's do your job. I always say that. My credo in life is do your job. Whatever you're expected to do, you do it. But I mean, if his heart isn't in it, I don't know why you're gonna make the guy cover it. I mean, the guy, he's basically saying that he's got a grudge against them. How objective can he be when he comes right out and says that he at least feels slighted by Galaxy's Edge, by Disney and the Galaxy's Edge fiasco. I don't know. I mean, it's like it's tough. And then later on, let me switch over here. I'll give you an idea of who I'm talking about. Let's see. Later on, I saw Jody's Corner. I watched this video for a couple of minutes because I watch Jody sometimes. He's all right, but he was kind of coming to Harloff's aid. And the reason why he did that is because he did the same thing. That's what I'm talking about. These guys are shills. They're entitled. He's in the pocket of Warner Brothers, Jody. And again, it's the same thing with Harloff. I mean, you can do that. You can do that, but don't expect to have credibility. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, he was at some function last year, and I watched it, and he was making some big to do because, and I was gonna do a video at that time too, but I was like, I understand. These guys are shills, and when they get like brought down to earth by the companies that they're shilling for, that look, we don't really owe you anything. You're not entitled to us giving you all the perks. You just talk good about us, and we'll show you stuff. But Jody, he was like in a line, and I remember he was like haranguing with the cast and everybody. Oh hey, there's Chris Pine. Hey Chris Pine, come here, look at me, and this and that. And then when Pine and Gal Gadot wouldn't really spare him a backwards glance, he like went furious, and he had his own meltdown, and he had to literally be escorted from the, I don't know what the event was, but he was just like in a line, and then he like went on a tirade about that on his own show because who is WB to tell Jody not to be at this event and try to get the ear of all the stars? And you're not any better than the rest of us. You know what I mean? I mean, Disney doesn't owe Harloff anything, and Warner Brothers doesn't owe Jody anything. You know what I mean? I get a big laugh at these shills when they get brought back down to earth, and people are like, oh, gee, I feel bad for him. He didn't get, well, why? Why should I feel bad for him? You know what I mean? He's telling people what Warner Brothers wants them to hear. And then when they like got their hand out and say, hey, I want to rub elbows with, so and so. I want to see Galaxy's Edge with Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill. And I want to see Chris Pine and Gal Gadot. And the studios are like, no, we can't make that happen because, these these actors are not like our meat puppets to just, throw them out for you to have fun with. You know what I mean? It's like I don't get where some of these guys kind of get off with the attitude. You know what I mean? And while I don't really like calling people out like this, I mean, I just feel like it's a news story. A lot of people are talking about it, and it's like I got something to say about it too. I'm going to say it about it too. But I mean, that's why I don't put myself in those positions. I don't want to be a shill for one of these companies because when they make something that I don't like, I don't want to feel like I'm stepping on toes because, well, Warner Brothers is treating me very nice. I don't want to say that, whatever. Shazam was terrible. It wasn't, by the way, but I'm saying. So if Shazam is terrible when it comes out, I can't say it because they've been very, very nice to me. When Rise of Skywalker comes out and is terrible, which it probably will be, I can't say it because Disney's been very good to me. You know, you have to be objective if you're going to be a quote unquote journalist. You can't be in the business here just to shill for a company. And then when they say, look, it's not me, it's you, then you know what I mean? You can't just accept it. You know what I mean? No, I didn't say that wrong. I think that's what it is. It's like the studios are like, look, it's not on us to placate you. It's not on us to appease you to give us these good stellar 4-star reviews or whatever. You give us the 4-star reviews and we'll give you an exclusive. That's kind of the way it is. They are not your friends. They are not there to give you, a behind the scenes glimpse because they like your personality. The people at Warner Brothers, they don't care less. They couldn't care less about Jody Joe. The people at Disney could care less about Kristian Haroff. You know what I mean? They're there to get good PR, and when the time comes, that you're giving them good PR that they need, they'll give you a little inside look. They'll give you a sneak peek. They'll tell you something that nobody else knows, and they'll tell you not to tell anybody. I think even Grace Randolph is probably coming. I was trying to think of who else has gone into you know situations like this. And I know she badmouths a lot of I don't know, I think Marvel production. So I don't know if because she had an in with them at some point, but you'll see a lot of these media YouTubers or whatever, and they'll end up having this axe to grind with some company at some point, with some studio at some point, over not getting treated fairly, or at least in their estimation, the invitation didn't come. It must have gotten lost in the mail, as Maleficent may have said in Sleeping Beauty. When the truth is, you weren't wanted, like Mayweather would say. All right, so well, I do have this here. Let me take a look. I got the because we really didn't talk about Galaxy's Edge. Let me take a look at the Galaxy's Edge. Uh, I don't know. I got nothing on the screen here. Let me put something on here for you to look at. We put Harloff back up. Handsome man, I'm sure. Of course, I don't roll that way, so I'll take your word for it. Let's see. Galaxy's Edge. Let's see. It's a Disneyland resort. I don't know. I got the Wikipedia page here. Let's see. Uh, our intent is to make you feel as if you just walked into one of the movies. Bringing Star Wars to life in the physical world gives us the opportunity to play with a whole bunch of things we've never done before, to really engage all the senses. What does the street feel like? What does the animal smell like? What does blue milk taste like? Eh. Apparently, this is only for the sequel trilogy. Let me see if yeah, right here. The story events are set between the films The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, and depict the rising presence of both the First Order and the Resistance. Galaxy's Edge will have 2 new attractions: Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, which allows riders to control the Millennium Falcon, which features a customized secret mission. Excuse me. Glug glug. And Star Wars Rise of the Resistance will place guests into the middle of a battle between the First Order and Resistance. Let's see. Yeah, that's about all. John Williams made some music for the park. Let's see. Restaurants and shops: Oga's Cantina, Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo, Ronto's Roasters, Cat Saka's Kettle, Savvy's Workshop, where guests can create their own lightsaber. It sounds like the kind of fun, a milk stand where guests can purchase blue or green milk. This sounds like fun, like something that I, would probably like to see. But the idea is like, they're basically doing it only to trade on the sequel trilogy. And since I don't really care for the sequel trilogy, I really don't need a lot of stuff from that era to remind me. I mean, if they wanted to make a Toshi Station, a Toshi Station place or something like that, that might be cool. But I mean, I don't know. What do I want to see from the Resistance? I really don't want to see anything from the Resistance. I don't want to see anything from the sequel trilogy. It's been pretty aggravating. It's been pretty aggravating being a Star Wars fan in general. All right, so oh, before we wrap it up, I had something else here that I was going to talk about. Let's see. We got a few minutes. It's almost an hour, but I think I can. Let's see here. There's the Star Wars SC-38 reimagined video. I don't know if you guys seen this. You've heard about this, where they took the A New Hope lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Vader, and they re-edited it to make it a lot more fun and punchy and whatever. This is I just put in Star Wars Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader, and I got it on the first thing. So, check that out, and let me see if I could. I've never done this. I never did a live, playing a video, but let's see if we can do this for a second here, and we'll see some of it. Let's skip some of it here because let's just get to the lightsaber action. Let's see. Where is it? All right, so that's pretty good looking CGI there. But I don't like the fast movements. I don't like the way it's completely out of tone. Now that's a cool shot. That's cool. But I don't like the fast walking. Again, this is like tonally out of touch with the rest of the movie. George Lucas would never have like such a slow, long approach. You know, that's what I mean. It needs to feel tonally consistent. Now, some of this is cool. Yeah, I like some of this. They could have like made it a little more ferocious in the original broadcast. I don't like this. This looks like what's his face? Darth Sidious. The way he fights, where he kind of does that stabbing motion. I don't think that's very cool. Yeah, throwing things. Yeah, that's all right. I can see that. But again, I know it just feels like it's out of tone with the rest of the films. You know what I mean? Because if you do this, you're gonna have to do that with all the other films with Empire and Jedi, I think. Anyway, I just give my 2 cents on it. I'm not gonna go through the whole clip, but check it out. It's what is it called again? Let me see what this says here. SC38 Reimagined Star Wars. So again, I kind of like a couple of the shots. I think if they would have gone with the less is more idea, it it probably would have flowed a little bit better. But see, what happens is a lot of these guys that do these things, they want to, sort of rewrite it from the ground up. You can't do that. That's why Lucas, when he would like tinker with his things here, he would like insert a couple of things. That's what you do. You insert one or two shots that might have been like, oh, that's kind of cool. But when you speed up the whole battle, it feels very out of place. And when you kind of try to ape um Sidious or Dooku's movements, it doesn't feel like Obi-Wan anymore. It feels more like you're just aping something from another, from the prequel trilogy or something. I don't know. Something about it just didn't sit well with me as much. So, I'm gonna have to say I would pass on that. I don't think that that's not sort of my head canon for A New Hope's battle. I think Lucas kind of did what he could do with the situation. He wasn't going to get that kind of level from Alec Guinness and David Prowse. Not that I mean, and there definitely wasn't CGI at that point. But I mean, there was no real need for like stunt doubles to try to you know uh, juice that up. He had them fight in a hallway that was narrow and without any boxes or things that would impede them or they could use against each other as weapons. I kind of understand it and accept it for what it is, and it's not lacking by any means because of the limitations of what Lucas had to work with at that time, especially being his first not his first movie, but his first foray into blockbusterdom. It is a stunning achievement either way. All right, so once again, thank you for joining me here for another splendid Saturday broadcast on the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnny Torch Live. Going to be seeing Dark Phoenix tonight, and hopefully we'll get you a spoiler review, as soon as possible. Belmont Stakes is on today, this afternoon, too, as well, so I'm going to try to catch that before heading out the door. But until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.